The good news for Captain America: Brave New World is that it was able to meet expectations for its domestic opening. The bad news is that those expectations were lowballed, and there are no more good news in store for the movie. There are more than a few bad ones though, and we'll be going through them presently, as well as the one gleam of hope the MCU yet has. Let's dive in. This video is sponsored by Incogni. Captain America was able to break 100 million over the course of its 4-day opening weekend, which was a PR win, in that the publicly released estimate was 95 million, so it came in higher than that. I stress it was only a PR win though, as for comparison, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania opened to 120 million in the exact same time frame, and that was a big flop, ending its run at 476 million worldwide, a sum which is lower than even the lowballed PR figure that has been stated as the Brave New World's break-even point. But will word of mouth help Brave New World overtake Ant-Man's total gross, despite a slower start? And if not, what glimmer of hope does Marvel still have? We're about to get into that, but before we do, have you noticed how so many of the online ads you come across seem oddly personal to you? Well, there's a reason for that, and it doesn't stop with ads, because that's where the spam emails and maybe even automated robocalls begin, and it only gets worse from there. If you ever signed up for a newsletter, a website, or some other service, then chances are your data was resold without you ever agreeing to it. There's a shadow industry of data brokers aggregating, buying, and reselling personal data like your full name, email address, phone number, home address, SSN, shopping habits, online alias, employment history, financial information, and much, much more. And as valuable as that information may be for those trading in it, all you get out of it, of course, is spam, and even that is a best-case scenario. In the US in particular, your data may end up in public search sites, and health insurance companies are known to use some of that data as determinants of health, meaning your documented online activity may actually increase your rates. There is also the risk that your data sooner or later will be leaked in a data breach, where it's made freely available for outright criminals, putting you at additional risk for more targeted scams and even identity theft, where loans may be taken out in your name. The good news though is that no matter how they obtained it, you have the right to request that these data brokers delete the information they have about you. The bad news is that there are hundreds of them, and each and every one of them will try every trick to weasel out of deleting your data. And worse still, even if they do, there's nothing preventing them from collecting it again. The really good news then is that Incogni, this video sponsor, can take care of this for you. Incogni helps you protect your privacy and take your personal data off the market by reaching out to data brokers on your behalf, demand your personal data be removed, and plow through their objections as they come. And better still, they'll send repeat removal requests in case they should get a hold of your data again. And best of all, the whole process is automated. All you have to do is create an account, grant Incogni the right to work on your behalf, and kick back and relax while they do the work for you, keeping you up to date with the progress every step of the way. Since this video is sponsored by Incogni, we naturally have a deal for you. Use our code MIDNIGHT at the link in the description and you'll get 60% off an annual Incogni plan. So head down to the description and get your data protected now. With that, let's get back to the good and bad news where Marvel is concerned, beginning with the bad. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was off to, well, the strongest start of the Ant-Man franchise, so there's that, and certainly a much stronger start than Captain America: Brave New World. And Quantumania started out so high because it was touted as the real beginning of the multiverse saga, after the slog the previous movies between Endgame and that had been. Alas, Quantumania disappointed audiences tremendously, causing a major loss of confidence in the MCU, which I think is a big part of the reason why Brave New World wasn't able to top it. even though it too also had been touted as a movie you simply could not miss, one which was vital for the future of the MCU. Chances are the audiences who showed up for it are the ones who are still invested in the MCU at this point, and that is very, very bad news for both Marvel and Disney. Because judging by attendance, meaning actual butts in seats, well, as we saw in our previous Captain America video, the number of actual audiences who attended the movie over the course of its first 3 days, or 3.5 days actually, as that included Thursday, was roughly the same number of people that went to see The Incredible Hulk in its first 3 days, full stop, way back in 2008. That is how badly the MCU has contracted, back to 2008 levels. At least as far as the 3-day opening is concerned. Only time will tell how much staying power the movie ends up having. What does not count in the movie's favor is that the Rotten Tomatoes score has now dipped below 50%. Comic Book Movie did a breakdown over how this Captain America compared to other MCU flops, and the bad news here is that the Rotten Tomatoes score is within striking range of both Eternals and Quantumania, which does not bode well for the movie's staying power. Neither does the B- cinema score, which is a franchise low. We'll have an idea of what the damage may be as soon as the second weekend drop-off is known, but already now we can say that the operating word here is damage, as the movie hasn't really pleased anyone, and if anything, further eroded confidence in the MCU. Even among the activists who dig the direction the MCU has been going since Endgame. Not even the activists were pleased with Brave New World. Case in point, The Hollywood Reporter featured an editorial with the title "Chris Evans' Captain America wasn't expected to save us. So why is Anthony Mackie's?" And the byline, "There's an American desire for black people to lead the charge when it comes to effecting change. And now, even a black superhero film is asked to wage war against MAGA land, something that never would have been expected of a Captain America film in the past." Yes, that is an actual title and an actual byline. I'm not making this up, just look at the screen. And now that you know that this is indeed real, know that this piece is intended to defend the movie against the criticism from activists that thought it wasn't aggressive enough in its messaging. Because out there in Hollywood land, there evidently are some who felt the movie needed more of that. This editorial is set up with America facing historic levels of corruption, apathy and greed, while civil, social, gender, immigration and education rights are being dismantled by the day, nobody seems to know what to do. Our elected officials won't save us. The wealthy won't save us. And white Americans, who hold the vast majority of voting power in the country, certainly didn't save us. So it's somewhat ironic, given the conversations surrounding Brave New World, and these movies many have viewed as mere escapism, that there is now a call for superheroes to save us, to call us to action. Here I feel it's prudent to mention that there is no such call for superheroes to save us out there in the real world. That call exists strictly within the heads of activists, mostly based in LA. They just project it upon the rest of the world around them, and the author of this piece at least partially participates in that delusion. Outside of the Hollywood bubble, there is literally no one else that seriously expects Anthony Mackie to motivate the people of the world to rise up and, I guess, stop Doge from exposing how the modern-day aristocracy is spending taxpayer money. But evidently, there must be some that do. They're all in Hollywood, and this editorial is addressing, well, I guess all 12 of them. It goes on, but essentially concludes. Steve Rogers was allowed to simply be a superhero rather than a revolutionary figure. He doesn't punch a single Yahtzee, except for an actor dressed up as that Austrian fellow in a stage show, which is a perfect example of the political performance offered by those highly entertaining yet passive movies. Steve's movies were allowed to be superhero fare, really good ones, but not pointed allegories. So why isn't the same loose interest in politics now afforded to Sam Wilson? All of which is to say, while the vast majority of audiences around the world felt that Brave New World was too political as it was, there clearly are voices from where the movie was made that feel the only problem here is that the movie wasn't angry and partisan enough. That, of course, is a big problem for Marvel here. They have spent years catering to a modern audience that by and large doesn't exist. But those that do live among the producers and filmmakers, even though they're invisible to everyone else. But they clearly are visible enough to necessitate articles like this. But in pleasing these lunatics, everyone else is alienated, and in trying to win back everyone else, they are alienated. And they are the ones living among the producers and filmmakers. Still, things are so bad now that change is coming. And that brings us to the one glimmer of hope Marvel actually has. On the movie side of things, Thunderbolts is probably the strongest bet Marvel has this year. While it too, just like Brave New World, is spun off from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a series which no one saw and further assumes you've done the homework of watching Ant-Man and the Wasp, as well as the Black Widow solo movie. It still appears to be mostly harmless beyond that, like there shouldn't be a female Silver Surfette to take you out of the action. But beyond that, the best bet Marvel has right now is Daredevil on Disney+, for the simple reason that it was already retooled. When that project was first announced, Kevin Feige made a big fuss about how different it was going to be, that it wasn't going to be the Netflix Daredevil, but the MCU Daredevil, as first seen in Spider-Man No Way Home and then in She-Hulk, which didn't really work out all that well. Neither did the initial version of Daredevil Born Again, which was scrapped midway through filming, retooled, and then reshot in its entirety, now in the same style as and acknowledging the events of the Netflix series. Mocking how bad the initial version was though, recent Marvel detractor and Deadpool creator Rob Liefeld tweeted, "Prior to the Marvel brass finally listening to the talent, the show was a comedy. They brought in action impression Phil Silvera, who literally reshot most every episode. The action and stunts are next level." So he would appear to have seen at least some of the retooled version, so this praise coming from him does bode well for Daredevil. Something else that bodes well is that She-Hulk won't be in it, nor will his fling with her evidently be acknowledged. That Park Place reports that She-Hulk star Tatiana Maslany is eager to join Daredevil Born Again, but Marvel seems to have moved on, writing that despite Tatiana Maslany's expressed desire to be in the show, Daredevil Born Again showrunner Dario Scardapane is steering clear of the She-Hulk baggage. In a recent interview, he confirmed that Born Again will ignore She-Hulk entirely, particularly the much maligned one-night stand between Daredevil and Jennifer Walters. The piece states, "The contrast between Daredevil Born Again and She-Hulk couldn't be clearer." While She-Hulk leaned heavily into fourth wall-breaking humor and shallow commentary, Born Again is doubling down on raw, character-driven narratives. With Echo and Agatha all along already failing to resonate, Marvel seems to have finally realized that audiences want real stories, real stakes, and real heroes, not gimmicks and cheap laughs. And that indeed is why Daredevil Born Again presents a glimmer of hope. And if there is anything Marvel, and especially the fans that remain, need right now, it is that. So, do you think Daredevil Born Again can wash away the disappointment of Brave New World? Or is the brand damage just too great at this point? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. And before you go, don't forget to protect your personal data with Incogni. Use our code MIDNIGHT at the link in the description and you'll get 60% off an annual Incogni plan.